Have you ever wondered if it's God or if it's you? Well, in this video, I tell you how to figure it out. This is spiritual actualization. I'm Will Rucker. I've got my green tea. Let's get into this. One of the biggest discoveries in enlightenment is that you are God. And that's a big statement, and many people can't handle it because their consciousness hasn't reached the place where they're truly able to even pretend to grasp that. And so we say things like, that was God doing it through me, or all of God, none of me, or it was the Holy Spirit that did it, or it was my angels that did it. But in reality, the truth is you are God. Now, what happens when people hear that and they're at a lower level of consciousness, let's say someone is at the level of pride, then they become narcissistic and they say, I am God. How dare you talketh to me that wayeth, right? They become full of themselves. Instead of becoming humble, they become a little bit narcissistic. So understanding that when you truly recognize that you are God, you become very humble, you become compassionate, you become patient and gentle and forgiving. You become love. And that's really the point, because God is love. And you, the real you're love. That's what you are. And it doesn't always feel that way. We don't always operate that way. We don't always embody who we are. But it doesn't mean we're not who we are. I mean, just because you're sitting in a garage doesn't mean you're a car, right? We all heard that. Well, just because you're sitting in a state of consciousness that isn't love doesn't mean that's who you are. It just means that's where you're parked. Does that make sense? I feel like that was really good, and I feel like you should probably tweet something about that as you hit the like button. Thank you for liking. I have to do that, YouTube. They track the likes, and the only way we'll grow the channel is if people hit the like button. So thank you for liking. You want to figure, if you're really God, you'll hit the like button. I'm just kidding. But not about hitting the like button part. So yeah, okay, that's done. So back to the content. Understand that being God isn't good. Like, it's a lot of responsibility. Being God doesn't mean that you're worshipped. It means that you serve. In fact, one of my favorite teachers, one of the beings that just was sent to the earth and enlightened in such a way that he became light for really all of humanity, said the greatest among you will be your servant. Yeah, that's, if you really want to be a leader, you want to know what it means to lead? It means to serve others, to put them in the place of honor, so to speak. Yeah, that's what God really does. And if you really want to embody that, you're not going to be haughty or high or any of those things. You are going to be a servant of servants. You're going to employ compassion in such a way that the entire world takes notice. You're going to be a light in a dark place, and you're going to provide hope for all that see. You get it? That's what being God means. It doesn't mean that you deserve special privileges, or that bad things won't happen to you, or that you won't have hardship or experience negative emotions or lower vibrational emotions, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't mean any of those things. Because as God, you've incarnated in this human flesh as the person that you are to experience life in this way. Because understand, God is infinite. And in order for God to truly experience infinity, absolute infinity, God has to create all of these scenarios and live all of these lives and as all of these things in order to truly be God's self. And again, I know that can be hard to grasp because it's a big concept. And I won't pretend that a 10-minute video is going to make you get it, because it won't. You'll have to watch this and watch it again and watch other videos and meditate and just think about these subjects and experience your own growth and recognize what's within you. And as that begins to blossom, you'll see, oh, now I get it. So I'm really just planting a seed, or perhaps for some of you, I'm just watering the seed or providing fertilizer. But this is a big concept, and I don't want you to walk around and jump off a building now thinking, well, I'm God, I can fly, I'm invincible. It's not that at all. So understanding how God is will orient you towards being more God-like. One thing that we've done with God is we've made God evil. We've associated God with all the negative things in the world. It was an act of God when that tornado came. It was an act of God when that earthquake destroyed that town. It was an act of God when the volcano erupted and destroyed that island, right? Or you lose a loved one and you tell your child, well, God needed them more than we did. God took them. God took them home. What does that do? It associates God with the negative events. And God is anything but the negative events. And in a broader picture, yes, God is, because God is all things, and even those negative events serve a purpose. But for the context of this conversation, understand how we associate God determines our picture of God and ultimately defines how we see ourselves. Because at our core, we do know that we're God. Like in your knower, like what you really know is you are God. That's why you're always reaching out. That's why your natural orientation is love. That's why, because you know it, but you've come and probably forgotten it, or it's been traumatic events have gotten it out of you or covered it up. And that's what spirituality is about. It's really about releasing who you truly are. It's not becoming something you're not. It's about shedding the layers of bull that's been piled on you and be emerging. It's like the butterfly coming in as a caterpillar. The caterpillar is a butterfly. It just hasn't blossomed yet, right? It hasn't gone through that transformation yet. So understanding this is not easy. I admit that. I fully admit and recognize saying I am God probably even feels uncomfortable, let alone trying to live like it. But too many people say, oh, I'm not God, I can't do that. When it comes to compassion, when it comes to forgiving others, when it comes to being generous. Oh, I'm not God, I don't know why they expect me to be perfect. Well, you have a wrong concept of perfection, first of all, because perfection actually is love. Love is perfection. We think being flawless or not making a mistake is perfection, but that's wrong. That's a wrong definition of that term. True perfection is being love. You can tweet that one too. So when we get to the nuts and bolts of this, recognize you are God and you're not separate from God. And you're not just an offspring of God, but you actually are the God kind. In every major faith, they do have this concept. In the Jewish scriptures, they talk about you are gods. In the Christian scriptures, they talk about you are gods. And I'm not a scholar in some of the other ones, but those concepts are there. I've seen them and I've heard teachings on it. So look it up for yourself. See what the ancient truths are. See what people back in the day, before technology that we know about, used to say. Think about the Egyptians and how they lived and the thoughts they thunk. Thoughts they thunk. That's a good way to say it. Thoughts they thunk. Think about all of those things. Now, what has happened, and this is kind of the warning in the video, is when people have recognized their deity and they're at a lower level of consciousness or awareness, they're still in that pride area or maybe even reason, they haven't quite gotten to love, they then become idolatrous. They become full of themselves. They then think others are meant to serve them. Real leaders serve others. Real leaders go before the crowd. Real leaders pave the way. That's what real leadership is. If you're a king, you are serving your people and you make sure they have an amazing lifestyle because they're a reflection of you. If you're God, you want everyone to be well taken care of because it's a reflection on you, right? So with that, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notified of when new content is posted, and share this video. Let others know this content is out there. Help them find this channel so that they too can go on this journey towards awakening and enlightenment. This is spiritual actualization. This is not just an ethereal kind of concept where we're just mentally ascending to these things. We're putting these things into practice and we are changing the world by changing ourselves. You are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. I love you. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next video.